Rev up your engines!
Well, here we go. It starts in California, now it's in New York. New York law is now going to phase out gas-powered vehicles by 2035. Of course, we're talking about now the left's in, politically speaking, so they got to do everything politically correct now, and they're saying that you're not going to be able to buy a new gasoline-powered vehicle in 2035. One, that's a long time from now. Two, it says you can't buy one. Doesn't say you can't drive one. Now, this is the new governor, the one that was appointed because Cuomo had to resign in ignominy, so take it all with a grain of salt. And of course, just following California, that a short time ago did the same thing, said we're going to ban the sales of new gasoline and light commercial trucks, not the big ones, the light ones, by 2035. I mean, they're really hedging their bets here. And it also says that new heavy-duty and medium-duty trucks for sale in New York State by 2045 have to be in the zero emissions category. I mean, we're really pushing it now. Let's see, 2045, that's what? 24 years from now, who knows what's going to be going on? So, of course, now New York State is jumping on the bandwagon, placating their base. Oh, yes, we're green, we care, you know. I mean, and it's such a light thing, too. Banning the sales of them years from now. We'll see what happens. If I'm still around then, it'll be interesting to see what's going on. But, you know, they're all just playing the one game now. Before it was at the right, now it's swung to the left. Maybe one day it'll go back in the middle where it belongs with most of us Americans who aren't extremists one way or the other. Well, here's an interesting kind of turnaround. Toyota is now going to spend $13.5 billion to develop electric vehicle battery tech by 2030. Now, you know, Toyota was kind of one of the last ones to jump into making electric cars. And it looks like their bet's going to be on the battery technology, which isn't that bad of an idea because, of course, they're working on solid-state batteries. If they can make actual solid-state batteries, unlike the lithium-ion batteries that they're using now, if they can make some kind of a radical breakthrough, that's really going to pay off for them. They would be making the batteries for people. And the cars, hey, electric cars, they're a battery and a motor, right? Actually, the most important thing is the battery today. The motors, there's a million electric motors out there. The technology's been around for a really long time, but it's the battery technology that's the radical part. To slash the price by 30% of the batteries by making them better, more efficiently. Now, if they do make it with these solid-state batteries, they're going to make a fortune. The solid-state batteries are more energy dense than lithium ion. They charge faster, and they don't have the problem with fires as the more liquid-based ones do. The problem with the solid-state ones is they have a short service life. I've seen that myself and stuff I tried in motorcycles. Figure they're going to get that out of the way by the mid-2020s. The problem today is the solid-state ones have a tendency of expanding and contracting as they charge and discharge, and then they break down from expanding and contracting. They crack inside and break. If anybody can figure something out, it'd probably be Toyota. Hopefully it won't be like the search for big energy using cold fusion, because when I was young, they were told cold fusion is going to be the future. Don't worry about these atomic plants, explosive and dangerous. We want to make cold fusion to make energy. Well, you know, that hasn't worked out. They're still working on it. I talked to a scientist the other day. He said he doesn't think they'll ever come up with cold fusion. So who knows? Maybe they won't, but they're going to put a lot of money into it, $13.5 billion. So who knows what they'll come up with. So Scotty, of all the cars you've owned previously and the ones you're driving right now, have you ever been criticized for driving this car? Yeah, people always criticize you for driving this car. They say, why are you driving this old car? My brother-in-law came over here the other day from Texas to Tennessee. And he said, oh, why don't you buy a new car? I said, hey, these old Toyotas still run good and the old Lexus still runs good. I'm not going to waste my money. The main reason people complain is because I'm driving older cars around. Well, hey, they work. Why get rid of them? It's stupid. If they run fine, they still look really good. The Lexus is painted in Japan. The paint still looks brand new, even though it's 19 years old. To me, they work. They look good. That's all I care about in a car. You know, I'm not out to try to impress anybody about anything. I want something that doesn't break when I'm going around, and then it's clean and looks good, and it's totally happy for me, you know? I mean, I got customers that, they'll be joked about because they drive a Prius. Oh, and they'll say you're a tree hugger and all that stuff. But I just drive normal cars. The main complaint is that I'm driving old ones. They said I'm too cheap to buy a new one, and you lose too much money anyways. Plus, the new ones are never going to last as long as the old ones. They have too much plastic, too much computer stuff in them. So I'm sticking with my old cars, whether people like it or not. 93 says, I got a coolant question. I was reading my owner manual. It said I have to change my coolant at 6 years to 100,000 miles. Could you explain why? All right, well, here's why. Antifreeze cools your car. It's 50% antifreeze and 50% water in most cars these days. The antifreeze itself has anti-corrosion inhibitors. Over time, they wear out. Then it will start to corrode the aluminum in your engine. All modern engines are almost all aluminum. They used to be cast iron, and of course that would rust, and that was even worse. You had to change it more often. But with the aluminum engines and modern coolant, you can go 6 years, 100,000 miles. If you don't, it will start eating up the aluminum parts in the car. Now, it's not going to do it right away. If you don't change it every 6 years, maybe when it's 10 or 12 years old, it'll start to corrode. It's such a simple job to change the coolant. You can do it yourself. And just buy the premix that's already 50% water and 50% coolant. You don't have to guess anything. You just take the old stuff out, pour the new stuff, and away you go. You don't want to use tap water. It's got a lot of minerals in most places. The minerals will accumulate and clog up your radiator. So stick to 50% water, 50% antifreeze mix, because the water in there is water that has all the minerals taken out of it, so you're not going to have any problems with added minerals in your local water when you buy the premix. 87 says, I got a 2012 Volkswagen Jetta. It's got 102,000 miles. I'm going to get more horsepower and torque out of the motor. Would the transmission hold up? No, don't do that. You got a Volkswagen Jetta that's 9 years old. You're lucky it's still running good. The transmissions, when they go out, they can cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to rebuild. The motor with 102, if you put a turbo or a blower on it, it's going to blow the motor faster. Be happy it's still running and drive it. They're not slow vehicles, you know. It's a 2-liter. Just be happy with what you got, because you're lucky it's still going without costing you a fortune. And you bump the power up, you're going to bump up problems even faster. You want a faster car or a better car, but don't buy a Volkswagen the next time. Be happy yours is still going and baby it. Don't try to boost the power unless you want to spend a whole bunch of money down the road. Hank 16 says, I got a 95 Toyota Camry. It cranks, it doesn't start. There's no fuel coming to the fuel filter. What could be wrong? Those are pretty reliable cars, but it's old. It's a 95, right? From my experience, your fuel pump probably went out. And now that's just what happens to them. They do have relays, fuses, check that, but I've never ever bought a fuel pump relay for a Toyota. I never saw one go bad, so I doubt if it's that. I mean, if you want to try the fuel pump, the relays on that old Toyota are all pretty similar. If you find the fuel pump relay, take it out and get another relay out on the car and put it in that position. It'll fit in. You'll find a bunch of them are totally interchangeable. If you do and it starts, great, but I've never seen that go bad. Generally, the pump itself has gone bad, and it's pretty easy to check. All you have to do is go to the wiring that goes under the tank. You see one's power and one's ground. Make sure the ground's grounded and you send power to the power. If it doesn't start pumping, you see the fuel coming, you hear the pump humming, then the pump's shot. And odds are it's that old, it's a 95. The pump probably just finally wore out and you're not getting any fuel because of that. First, change the fuel filter. A clogged filter, if it's clogged up enough, will do it. That's a lot simpler than messing with a fuel pump. Fisher Trout says, I'm thinking about importing a Toyota Hilux. Do you think it's a good idea to bring a 25-year-old Hilux to the U.S. other than Western Tennessee? Do you know anyone who's done it and how? All right, well, to tell you the truth, there are many companies that do that. It's best to deal with one of them. Look it up on the internet. Many areas have guys that do that. They know the paperwork. If you do it by yourself, one car, it's a headache to deal with the paperwork. These guys bring 8 or 10 vehicles from Japan over at a time. They know what they're doing. They often have good prices, and they're excellent vehicles. But, and this is a gigantic but, do not buy a diesel Hilux because they're just hellacious to get parts for in the United States. If you get a gasoline one, a lot of the stuff's interchangeable, no big deal. But the diesels, no. They never sold them over here. Getting parts from them is a pain in the butt. Getting repair information is a pain in the butt. Trying to find any mechanics who's going to work on the diesel engine from that, because they know they can't get parts, is going to be a pain in the butt. A lot of them had diesel engines with rubber timing belts. They break. Goodbye engine. But if you're looking at a gasoline Hilux, yeah, look around. There's plenty of guys that import them. And you can actually do it cheaper through them because since they do it in volume, they transport them cheaper. They get the paperwork done cheaper because they know what they're doing. You do it it yourself. You're going to have to deal with a lot of headaches of importing stuff and dealing with government regulations. Buy it from a guy who does it for a living. And a lot of them have them out there for decent prices. I've had people bring them to me here in Clarksville. I've had people bring them to Rhode Island. Some of them bought them in Boston. Some of them went all the way to Florida to pick them up. If you remember that Toyota Celica All-Track, the rally one that was all-wheel drive and turbo, the guy went to Florida and bought it, and he got a good price. The guy imported them to Florida. He went down there, bought it, and drove it back to Rhode Island. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.